Hi everyone, my name is Tania and today I'm going to be showing different ways on how to use the Mandala Builder Stencil. Stay tuned! So today for my post, I am going to be using the Mandala Builder Stencil set. And in this set, you get three components. So you have three stencils, which you can use together, or you could use them individually as well, or omit one or the other. I'm going to show you two different ways in this video, and there's a third one card that I made as well, which you can see at the end of the video, and there are more pictures are up on the blog as well. So what I'm doing with my stencil is I am building like a little skirt for it. So because the design goes all the way up to the edge, I wanted to have a more permanent sort of barrier there towards the edges so that I didn't have any ink or any mediums seeping out of the corners of the stencil. So I only chose to do two. You don't have to do this, but when I'm building, when I'm making projects, I prefer to mass make them. And when I'm making a lot of things all at the same time, I like to have things which will make my process a little bit easier. You could use a post-it note as well if you wanted to. And what I did before, as you saw in the video, was I burnished down the edges really well with the bone folder as well. Now I am going to be doing an art journal page, a 6x8 art journal page, and I have taped down the side so that it doesn't move, and it also stops the ink from getting onto that card as well. There's just a tiny little strip. And what I'm using is I'm using the small ink blending tools and using Tide Blue ink and then blending really well in soft circular motions and being really careful to get the entire design covered. And this is sped up times two in this clip just to show you that it might look like I'm being Speedy Gonzales here, but I am really taking my time making sure that the ink is evenly blended, a little bit darker in the center, lighter towards the edges. And then what I'm going to do is before lifting off the entire thing, I'm just going to lift off one part just to check if I've missed any edges or corners. And that allows me to quickly center it back if I've missed anything. So here is what the first layer looks like. And for the second layer, I am using Fuchsia Crisp Dye Ink, and again with another ink blending tool. I like to have an ink blending tool per color family, and I like to have a separate set of ink blending tools for my mixed media inks because they are pigment based, and I don't want those to get mixed up with my dye inks. And here is what the third layer looks like. I used Autumn Blaze Crisp Dye Ink, and I was absolutely in love with how it turned out. It reminded me of tiles. I am absolutely obsessed with tiles and mandalas and geometric patterns, anything circular. So this was right up my street. And I loved experimenting with different color combinations. I was going to use the red instead of the fuchsia, but I decided to go with the fuchsia because that's what felt right in that moment. Now I'm using the tall lowercase alpha die set here, and I initially had die cut it in gray, but it didn't stand out as much as I liked against that background. So I die cut the word breathe again in black, and then I glued it down with the precision glue pen, and with a white gel pen I am adding in some dots and some details. This is entirely optional, but to me it just really finishes off the piece and helps to really make the design pop. And I'm also adding a few dots on the word breathe as well, just to help to tie it in with the background. And here is a finished look at what the art journal page looks like. Honestly, I could have done more around the edges, but I just wanted to let the design breathe. So for my second card, I decided to go down the mixed media route because, hey, I love mixed media, and I know you guys love seeing the mixed media videos as well. And what I'm doing is I've taken one, just this one stencil from the set. That's all I'm going to be using, and I'm taking some embossing paste and a little bit of the embossing paste on my palette knife, and I'm really carefully putting down an even layer of the embossing paste through the stencil, and trying to be really careful and holding the stencil down with one hand, so that it makes good contact with the paper and I don't get any of the embossing paste oozing under the stencil. Now, unfortunately, I did get the design smudge here and there, but I wasn't too bothered. I just scraped away the embossing paste while it was still wet with a sharp craft knife. And while the embossing paste was still wet, I am sprinkling in, so I'm doing some multicolor embossing. I'm sprinkling antique gold embossing powder onto the center and the outer edges of the design. So make sure that your embossing paste is still wet at this point, because that's what the embossing powder will stick to. And then I'm covering the whole thing with antique silver embossing powder and making sure to give it a nice good flick to get rid of any excess embossing powder. So this is a really good way to use many different embossing powders. I chose to do this on gray cardstock because I wanted like a slightly vintage yet classy look. And what I'm doing is I am melting the embossing powder, but I am also, I'll zoom in at this point, I'm also letting the embossing powder bubble here and there as well, because that gives me that extra texture, and I absolutely adore how that looks, especially with the metallics. Nothing compares to the shine of these metallic embossing powders. My goodness. Every time I do embossing, I am never bored. Do you guys ever get bored of the embossing powder process? And here is a closer look at what the embossing looks like on top of that embossing paste. I was in love. How many times have I said that already? And of course I use the word love on the card as well. And I'm using the tall alpha die, the tall alpha lowercase die. And what I've done is I have layered the black on top of a white die cut as well, so that it pops a little bit more against that background, just to give it a little bit of shadow. What other color do you guys think that I should have done the alpha? I like the black, but I feel like it needed something extra in the end. Let me know in the comments below. So to finish off the card, I stuck down the die cuts with the precision glue pen, and I am also sticking down the sequins with the precision glue pen as well, and just adding them here and there, the largest of the sequins in the set, and just wherever I feel like I needed it. And I'm making sure to arrange them in a sort of radial circular design, because that's what I was feeling in that moment. And here is a finished look at the card, and I really love how those sequins look against that gray background with the metallic embossing powder. And here is a closer look at the all three of the projects, and I hope that you liked my video. Let me know in the comments below what other colors I could have used. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Take care and have a wonderful day. Thanks. Bye.
Hello crafters, I hope you enjoyed that video. If you want to see more, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss anything. Thanks for watching.